I'm the academic head of Genesis Law School, and I am extremely excited to host today Ms. Nothemba Sonjica, who is the Chief Legal Officer of the Commission on Gender Equality, and of course, acting manager in the office of the chairperson, what we normally call a chief of staff in the office of. And of course, we've got a very exciting topic today, which commemorates the 30th anniversary of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. So, and no better person than the person who's at the coalface. She's an attorney. She's an experienced bureaucrat. She has vast experience in her recent career in the public sector. And so the topic is 30 years of the CGE, successes, failures, wins, and of course, the practice of law as a female in South Africa. So it's a mouthful, but we deliberately made it that way so that she's able to tell us about her journey and where she has been and how this operates. But without further ado, and before I even delve into her profile, let's have Ms. Sonjica tell us more about the exciting work of the Commission on Gender Equality in South Africa. Ms. Sonjica, over to you.
Good evening, Advocate Malunga, and to the students. Let me just activate my video. I'm not sure if all of you can see me.
Yes, we can see you very well.
Thank you so much, Advocate Malunga. Good evening once again to you and your students. As you've rightfully introduced myself.
And our lecturers and some lawyers as well. Yes.
Thank you so much. Good evening to the staff, to the students, and everyone joining online. My name is Nothemba Sonjica. I am a legal officer and also the acting manager in the office of the chairperson at the Commission for Gender Equality. Thank you, Advocate Malunga. I'm not sure whether I should start with my presentation or is there any other item?
I think at this stage, you can just... One second, I just want to, if our colleagues could just bear with me. I also just wanted to just 1 second. Okay, let me just quickly go through Ms. Sonjica's biography so that I think people have a sense of who we are dealing with and what has been, what she has to offer. So Nothemba Sonjica holds a Bachelor of Laws degree and is currently in her final stages of her LLM in Human Rights Protection with the University of the Western Cape. She's an accredited mediator and an admitted attorney with 8 years post-admission experience. She's a socio-economic rights and gender activist who's passionate about addressing systemic issues that affect access to human rights. And she's the chief legal officer at the Commission on Gender Equality and acting manager in the office of the chairperson of the Commission of Gender Equality. She's part of the unit that investigates gender-related complaints, drafts submissions on existing and proposed legislation, drafting memorandums for litigation, and challenges with existing legislation, monitoring the Commission's litigation, drafting legal reports, investing systemic issues, and also works on transformation hearings in the public sector. So that's quite a mouthful and without further ado, Ms. Sonjica, I'd like to hand over to you, then you can proceed with the presentation. I just needed to clarify your profile so that people know how much exciting experience you have. And of course, I also just want to emphasize that we are proud as Genesis Law School to be dominated by females. Don't be fooled by the fact that the academic head is a male. We have a very vast sort of female team of facilitators, administrators. So we're fully compliant. We are really walking and talking the Constitution. And of course, some of them will contribute after your presentation. But let's hand over to Ms. Sonjica after that introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Advocate Malunga. I'm going to keep my video off for the purposes of the presentation.
That's fine.
All right, thank you.
Would have loved to see you though, but if you feel...
Yes, I will switch it back on when we have the question and answer session.
No problem. No problem.
No problem. Thank you very much. Please let me know if you can see my presentation.
Yes, we can.
All right. Once again, I'd like to thank you for the invitation. It came at a time when we, as the Commission for Gender Equality, were still just conceptualizing and just reflecting on how we would celebrate this milestone. So it's just an honor to attend the session, and also just to say we didn't know that other institutions have noted that we are turning 30 this year. So thank you very much for the invitation. Excuse the background noise. I'm working from home, so I'm noticing there's a bit of a thunderstorm. Hopefully it will not interrupt us. Thank you very much. So in this presentation, I will just be basically reflecting on the 30 years of the Commission for Gender Equality and the Constitution, and also our successes and failures, and also the implications for gender equality in the legal profession. As Advocate Malunga stated, it's quite a mouthful, so I have tried to break it down, and hopefully you will be able to follow me as I present to you. So the Commission for Gender Equality was established in terms of Section 181 and 187 of the Constitution. As 2026 marks 30 years of the Constitution, it also marks 30 years of the establishment of the Commission for Gender Equality. So the key word here is establishment. I will explain what that means as I proceed with my presentation. The CGE mandate includes promoting respect for gender equality and to protect and achieve gender equality in the Republic of South Africa. Just a minute. Thank you very much. Broadly, the CGE's functions include investigating gender-related complaints, resolving, researching, monitoring, and evaluating laws, customs, practices, and indigenous laws, personal and family law affecting gender equality that are enforced or proposed by Parliament, and making the necessary recommendations on policies and practices of the public and private sector. It also includes developing, conducting, and managing information and education programs, evaluating and making recommendations on legislation affecting or impacting the status of gender equality. So the CGE has 3 departments. We have the legal department, we have the public education and information unit, we have the research department. The legal department investigates your gender-related complaints. They make submissions on proposed and existing legislation. They also host and hold public transformation hearings. So we might be calling regenesis in the future. I know we've done a lot of hearings within higher education. We just haven't dwelled into the private institutions. We've covered all universities and TVET colleges. So we might be knocking on your door soon enough. And we thank you for the invite. It just gave us an idea on what to look for. So as mentioned, we have 3 departments. The Public Education and Information Unit, they conduct your outreach programs, your education initiatives. They reach even the rural areas, and with the usage of our 9 provincial offices all over the country, we're able to reach even the remote areas just to educate people about gender equality. As mentioned, the CGE was established in terms of Section 181 and 187, which means we are a Chapter 9 institution. So the South African Human Rights Commission, the Commission for Religious and Linguistic Rights, the Public Protector, they're all our sister organizations. Together, we are often called institutions supporting democracy. As mentioned, we are empowered by the Constitution, but also we have the Commission for Gender Equality Act. So part of our vision as the Commission is to be leaders, pioneers, and catalysts of gender equality. So as I present, you'll be able to follow on how we are achieving this and how we've achieved it in the past. So one of the reasons why the Commission for Gender Equality was included in the Constitution was because gender is an integral part of the Equality Clause, which is the Section 9 of Constitution, and partly because the core values of the Constitution are human dignity and equality. Additionally, the Constitution in its preamble states that it recognizes the injustice of the past. The injustice doesn't only refer to racism, but it also refers to gender oppression. The mandate of the Commission for Gender Equality is quite wide. You can imagine that gender entails a lot of experts and covers a lot of areas. So the fact that gender equality also means human rights. And due to the intersectional nature of gender, it is often compounded with disability, race, class, and sexuality. In December, we had what we call the gender-based violence march, and one of the meeting points was Constitution Hill. Our office as the Commission for Gender Equality is situated at Constitution Hill at the Women's Jail section at the right wing. So even our location, it has quite a significant impact in the work that we do. It's a constant reminder of where we've been as a country. So whilst we were observing this march, we came across a woman who was holding this placard, which was written, "Poverty is gendered. The economy is gendered. Gender-based violence is gendered." So that statement alone should show you the intersectional nature of gender equality. So now I will get into the historical background, because as we're discussing 30 years of the Commission for Gender Equality, it's important that we go through over the history, just to see where did this concept of establishing the Commission for Gender Equality come from, how it came about, what was the intention, and where we are now. The struggle for gender equality in South Africa was formalized when, apologies, I just need to. Yes. It was established and formalized when the Women's Charter was adopted on the 17th of April, 1954, at the founding conference of the Federation of South African Women, where a charter was developed. This charter mapped out gender transformative paths for all spheres of life, including in the spheres of socio-economic, political, as well as cultural positioning of women within the South African society. Now, prior to the advent of democracy, South Africa was characterized by stark inequalities and discrimination. Under the apartheid regime, gender discrimination was entrenched in written laws, patriarchal ideologies, and social and cultural disparities, whilst human rights were neither guaranteed nor protected by the law in the country. Women were assigned the lowest position in the social hierarchy, with Black women confronted with the intersectional discrimination, such as oppression of race, class, and gender. Women faced compounded discrimination as there were no provisions in laws to address issues of women's health, economic challenges, employment, exploitation, violence against women, sexual harassment, access to education, participation in decision-making and politics, and other critical areas. It was at the dawn of the democratic dispensation that provisions of the Women's Charter were incorporated into the Constitution of the Republic, which then led to the establishment of the CGE as a Chapter 9 institution to serve as an oversight body over gender practices in the country. These developments took place against the backdrop of radical advocacy, initiatives, and campaigns by the women of South Africa. CGE was one of the institutional measures introduced to drive the gender transformation agenda in the country. Now, if you note in the beginning of my presentation, I said I would explain what I meant by establish. Although the CGE was established in 1996, it only came into operation between 1997 and 1998. The institution, like many others, grappled with the teething challenges which were aggravated by the fact that there had not been an institution of its kind prior to 1994. Another significant challenge was that the institution was being established during a time whereby issues of gender equality were being overshadowed by the prioritization of overcoming institutionalized racism by the new democratic government. It was only in 1998 to 1999 financial year that the CGE was able to finalize and operationalize its institutional structure. The first person of the CGE was Ms. Tenjiwe Mtintiso, and the CEO was Ms. Colin Lo Mona. Now, these are some of the highlights which the CGE wishes to bring to attention over the last 30 years. Now, for this particular part of the presentation, we'll just focus on the legislative highlights. So in terms of our international obligations, we have taken part in the CSW, which is the Convention on the Status of Women, since 2007. In addition, the CGE, in consultation with the presidency, organized a parallel consultative seminar parallel to the 51st session of the CSW. The session was attended by NGOs, civil society, and many other countries, together with officials from multilateral organizations. The Commission, in preparation for the country periodic report in 2010, facilitated a mock trial for the country whereby 2 members of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is known as CEDAW, were invited to assist the country in preparing for reporting at the CSW session in New York. The CGE has also devoted its time to assessing the level of compliance of South Africa with international instruments related to gender issues as provided for by the CGE Act. Some of the most important international tools given attention were CEDAW, the MDGs, the Beijing Platform for Action, the African Gender Development Index, Demographic Dividend Index, and the Maputo Protocol. The CGE has also obtained an affiliate status with the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and it is so far the first and only specialized National Human Rights Institute affiliated with the ACHPR in Africa. This is a huge milestone for the CGE. It enables the CGE to participate in the international platform in advancing gender equality in line with international standards, legislation, customs, and practices. The CGE has also participated, the CGE continues to participate in the CSW in New York annually. We will be attending again in March, and often we normally host our own side events based on different thematic issues. The CGE has also developed a relationship with other gender commissions across the world, and we are currently advocating for the establishment of other gender commissions in Africa. The CGE has over the years played an important role in challenging existing and proposed legislation, customs, and practices that stand in the way of gender equality. It's important that we highlight the following interventions, amongst others. The CGE has made submissions to the SA Law Commission and Parliament and has produced a handbook on women and work. The CGE has hosted the first national conference on witchcraft violence and got involved in a follow-up for a national action plan on the issue. This was at a time when violence associated with witchcraft was very prevalent. The CGE made submissions for the review of the suppression of witchcraft. The CGE's legal department also formed part of the team that oversaw the training of judges, magistrates, clerks, registrars of courts in terms of the requirements of PEPUDA, which is one of our empowering acts. In addition, the CGE contributed to a bench book on equality, targeting judges and magistrates, and to manual for clerks and registers of the Equality Court. It's important to note that the CGE is also part of the Equality Court Review Committee. The CGE has also advocated for parliamentary recognition of domestic violence. This culminated into a bill on domestic partnerships, which was gazetted in 2008. Although this bill was never passed into an act, the CGE is also still under consultations with the Department of Home Affairs with regards to the Life Partnership Bill. The aim was to provide for legal recognition of domestic partnerships, the enforcement of the legal consequences of domestic partnerships, and to provide for matters incidental thereto. The CGE has also contributed to the formulation of the SADC Protocol on Gender Development, which was subsequently signed by the heads of state in 2008. CGE has also made legal submissions for the following bills and acts, amongst others. We have made submissions to the UN Guidelines on Women and Disabilities, the Marriage Bill. We've also made submissions on constitutional review, the Customary Initiation Act, Gender-Based Violence Council Bill, the Life Partnerships Bill, Draft Policy on Women in Sport, the Prevention and Combating of Hate Speech and Hate Crimes Act, Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Bill, and the Minimum Wage Bill. This is amongst many of the submissions we've made. We just felt it important that we highlight these. Otherwise, the submissions are available on our website, together with the investigative hearings we've completed and the research projects we've completed. They are available on our website. Now, in terms of transformation and investigative hearings, we have done employment equity hearings in various provinces. We've done gender transformation hearings in institutions of higher learning and TVET colleges. We've also done gender transformation hearings with regards to procurement. We've also done an investigative report into the choice on termination of pregnancy. We've done research on the state of shelters in South Africa, the state of Tuduzela care centers in South Africa, investigation into the implementation of Pillar 3 of the NSP. We've also done an investigation into the withdrawal of sexual offences in Mpumalanga. We've also done a transformation hearing with regards to the local government, and we've also looked at the mining sector. Now, what our investigations entail is that we will ask for disaggregated data in terms of race, gender, and disability. We'll also look into the employment policies of the institute we call for hearings. We'll look at your sexual harassment policy, your promotion policies, your breastfeeding policies, your maternity leave policies, your succession policies, amongst others. So we will look at those policies, when last they were reviewed, the provisions of those policies. We'll look into whether, for example, the sexual harassment cases are in line with the 2022 code. Thereafter, we'll then make the necessary recommendations. After we make recommendations, we then approach Parliament or the different portfolio committees for intervention where needed. We also do follow-up hearings. So we don't just do a hearing and then leave it there. We follow up with regards to the implementation of our recommendations. In terms of our research report, our research department has done research with regards to the Victims' Charter. We've also been monitoring and we've also researched gender and elections from the year 2011 to the current year. We are also planning to observe the local government elections this year. So we always observe the national and local government elections, and then we publish reports. We also do reports on the political representation of women. We do gender mainstreaming sessions in public service. The research department has also done a gender in the curriculum report. There's also been a report on South Africa's compliance with CEDAW. And we've also done a report on gender rights under cultural rights, exploring barriers to women's access to communal land. We've also done a report on teenage pregnancy, decriminalization of sex work. We've also done a report on South Africa's compliance with the Beijing platform. In terms of litigation, so the Commission for Gender Equality sometimes institute litigation on systemic issues we've observed. We also keep our ear on the ground for matters which we can draw in as friends of the court and where we can advance gender-related arguments. So I will highlight a few of the cases which have been important or which have made a major impact on the last 30 years, which is the Bear Shibi case, including the Namitwa case, and we are also currently litigating in the Mbepu matter. All those cases have to do with the male primogeniture rule, which basically excludes women from chieftaincy positions. So as the CGE, we've joined those cases. We've also instituted some where we have received a complaint. We also joined the Mahlangu Minister of Labour case as amicus, in which the Constitutional Court declared the exclusion of domestic workers from COIDA unconstitutional. The ruling had the effect of allowing domestic workers to claim for work-related injuries or death with a retrospective effect from 1994, which was a major win for the CGE and women in general. We were also involved in the Jezile versus the state matter, which concerned ukutwala and child marriage. And this case set a precedent in terms of the law as to how these matters are handled. In this case, there was a conviction for rape, there was a conviction for assault, there was also a conviction for abduction as well. We were also involved in the Caster Semenya versus World Athletics case. I'm sure some of you may have heard of the judgment last year. The CGE was part of that matter, and we deemed it as a win for the CGE because the court declared that Caster Semenya did not receive a fair trial, also that she had experienced substantive discrimination. We had also joined the Togo versus the state matter in the Supreme Court of Appeal, where we joined as an amicus. And in our arguments, we advanced the issue of the High Court judgment, which endorsed the rape myths, which also disregarded the peri-traumatic responses of complainants when it comes to sexual assault and rape cases. We were also part of the Van Beek versus Minister of Labour matter, which was the case that had to do with parental leave. In this case, the court held that adoptive parents, also fathers, have a right to access paternal leave. We also deemed it as a victory for the CGE, and also this case just highlighted how the commission isn't what others refer to as the Commission for Women. We just advocate and we promote respect for gender rights, not just for women. So in this case, we had advanced an argument for equal parental leave. Although it's quite a controversial case in terms of how the CGE advanced their arguments with regards to catering for fathers as well to take paternal leave. We were also able to advance many arguments with regards to if partners can discuss it, then, or if it happens that the father is the caregiver at the time and the mother is the one that's employed, the father can take paternal leave, or if the father is self-employed, those type of arrangements basically. So it's not a strict application of the act. It's open to discussion between partners. So we deemed that as a victory. We were also involved in the KG versus Minister of Home Affairs case, which had to do with Section 7.3 of the Divorce Act. In terms of this case, the argument was that the act or the section discriminated against partners that were married after 1978 and partners that were married before 1978, in that it allowed partners that were married before 1978 to enter into a redistribution agreement, regardless of the fact that they were married out of community of property. So our arguments was that in such cases, the court did not consider arguments where women have invested less than financial means in terms of the marriage, and also where women were married for plus minus 30 years, even though they did not have financial means to contribute to the marriage, they contributed in terms of their unpaid care work. So those were our arguments, and the fact that women have less bargaining power when it comes to choosing the marriage regimes, especially considering women that were married after 1978. So we argued that there was discrimination in terms of that section. So now I will now get into gender equality in the legal profession. So the CGE has noted a number of issues which affect gender equality and transformation in the legal profession, and we've also made submissions to the Legal Sector Code. The CGE also attended the National Empowerment Fund Legal Sector Code Summit, which was held last year, where gender transformation issues were ventilated. Some of the factors we identified at that summit were the fact that there were factors affecting career development of women within the legal profession, also issues related to unpaid care work. There was also resistance to transformation within the legal sector. There were also issues with regards to maternity leave for candidate attorneys and legal practitioners or legal practitioners that owned their own firms. We also noted issues with regards to African women in senior positions at law firms, also issues of unequal breeds with regards to gender. We know that issue has been ventilated with regards to race, but it is also rife with regards to gender. The CGE has also published a report into the lack of gender transformation in the judiciary. In terms of our challenges, the main challenge the CGE has experienced is the implementation of recommendations. The CGE had joined the South African Human Rights in their application before the SCA and CC in the Constitutional Court in the outdoor data matter. So the South African Human Rights had approached the Supreme Court of Appeal and is currently before the Constitutional Court with regards to the binding nature of their recommendations. And we had joined that matter because it also addressed a challenge that we experienced with regards to the binding nature of our recommendations. So there's currently a case that is EFF and the public protector, in which the judgment indicated that the public protector's resolutions are binding. So we argue that since we are all chapter 9s and institutions supporting democracy, our recommendations should be binding. The matter is currently before the Constitutional Court and we are awaiting judgment in that matter. Other challenges that we've noted is the slow pace of gender transformation across various sectors. As mentioned, we've done transformation hearings in the public and private sector. We've done them in the mining sector. We've done them at local municipalities. We've done them at institutions of higher learning. And we have noted that there is generally a slow pace of gender transformation. Also, there seems to be a non-compliance with policies and legislation that promotes gender equalities. For instance, we will notice that in companies that submit their employment equity plans, they do not comply with their own employment equity plans. They do not comply with policies such as the Code of Good Practice on the prevention of harassment. There's generally a non-compliance with policies and legislation. We've also received some resistance from cultural and religious sectors, especially with regards to the LGBTQIA community. We've also noticed that there's generally a lack of understanding of the CGE mandate. Just to explain further on this aspect, it's not just about the commission being known as the Commission for Women. There's also issues of not understanding that the commission is an oversight body and not the implementers. For instance, in our investigation of GBV matters that are referred to us, in most cases, those matters are before court, and we often have to liaise with the NPA. But often people view the CGE as the implementers. For instance, they will ask, what are you doing about gender-based violence? What are you doing about a particular case? Where else it's before the court and before the NPA. So our role as an oversight body is often misunderstood. Additionally, we have issues with budget. Currently, our budget does not allow for a full implementation of our mandate. We have budgetary challenges. However, we are able to make the most with what we have. For instance, with our research project, we will focus maybe on the Northwest, on Limpopo. I'm just making an example, on the Eastern Cape. We will not be able to cover all 9 provinces with regards to research for a particular issue because of budgetary constraints. However, we are able to do it in phases and based on the budget that we have. So that is all from my side, colleagues. Thank you so much for your time. I will now note the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sonjica, for a very comprehensive presentation. I must say, on a lighthearted note, all our constitutional law students, this is examinable. This presentation is examinable. As you know, we do cover that section on chapter 9s and constitutional institutions. And of course, I think it was so comprehensive that, we will definitely make it available to those who are studying the course. So I just want to, I see there's some hands. Let me just go scroll down. Okay. Is Onke. Onke, yes, Onke, you may proceed and ask your question.
Yes, Advocate, how are you today?
Very well, thanks.
Thank you. My name is Onke. I'm a student in Regenesis, my first year student in law.
Yes.
As I'm following this presentation of gender-based violence, this Commission for Gender Equality. I noted the bills that have been up approved or were executed in other legislation. But Commission Advocate, I'm concerned of there is a silence or there is a limited space of talking about people with disability, whereby the Commission is advocating the transformation, not only talking about gender, but also more of seeing the people with disability participating in the economic transformation. Up to so far, this report, that is presentation, I captured that it is more of gender in the form of women. However, when it comes to the people with disability, who also the people whom are affected in terms of being discriminated, indirect or direct, are not. I don't hear them or the commission. The commission demonstrating an assertive attitude towards those groups or that society. Provided this presentation was only focusing to the gender in a form of female. These people with disability are not that much attached to this. Then I will withdraw my comment. Well, my question is this commission does cover the people with disability in ensuring the transformation? The transformation does include them. That is my question. Thank you. If so, how far in that? Take into account that she already mentioned that there is a resistance in transformation in private sector, government, and so forth. So I want to check from her experience how far the Commission is making sure that is establishing or advocating the inclusiveness of people with disability in the space. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for that question. I've been told by the event organizers, Ms. Sonjica, if you can just turn your camera on. Thank you very much. Oh, you're muted, madam.
Yes, I will just unmute when. Or should I take each question, or
yes,
should I just wait for a round of?
No, I think let's take that one, and then yeah, I think let's just give. And I think there's Nabayom who's next. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for that question. Generally, with persons with disabilities, we intervene where there is a gender aspect. As I mentioned, gender often intersects with other aspects, including race, disability, and other aspects. So in our transformation hearings, when we request for data, we request for disaggregated data based on gender, race, disability as well. So we have made recommendations with regards to persons with disabilities in the public and private sector. One of the things we've noticed, which I think I mentioned in my presentation, is that there is a lack of compliance with employment equity plans that also affects persons with disabilities. Generally, across board, what we've noticed is that companies do not recruit persons with disabilities. Their recruitment policies are inadequate when it comes to persons with disabilities. So that is contained in most of our reports with regards to transformation hearings. So we do cater and we do investigate issues that concern gender with regards to persons with disabilities. Also, just to mention, with regards to persons with disabilities, the South African Human Rights also has a mandate over such issues. We only get involved where there is a gender aspect. Thank you.
All right. No, thank you very much. Then let's go to Nabayomzi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Yes, all is well.
Thank you so much. Let me start by appreciating the presentation by Umama Sonjica. A brief one. I'm glad that I'll be doing constitutional law this second year. And I heard you saying that it will be part of the, it's part of the module. I just want to quickly check, Mama, you spoke of educating the public, particularly in rural areas. I just want to check quickly, Mhlawumbi, to say which forms of these education campaigns, which forms do they take, these education campaigns, to educate our people? That would be the first question. And I've also realized that there's a less media campaign, particularly in the print media and electronic media, the campaigns about enlightening our people about the role of Commission of Gender Equality. I just want to check what could be the challenge to have gender, commission to be in that particular space. The last one, ma'am and sir, is in various provinces across the country, there's what we call a JCPS cluster. That is the Justice, Crime and Prevention. It includes the social cluster. In the Free State where I am, the role that the commission plays is minimal. In fact, it's not even there. It's not represented because this is the place where the equalities or perhaps injustices are committed against women or maybe perhaps all genders. That's where you find inequalities being discussed that are perpetuated in our societies. In this cluster commission, this cluster meetings. And now I just need to check, why is the role of Commission of Gender Equality in the Free State not hyped up, or perhaps not being visible in the JCPS cluster? Those are my three questions. Once more, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you so much, Advocate.
Great. Thanks. Madam, over to you.
All right. Thank you for your question, sir. In terms of our public education initiatives, our topics or thematic issues often cover your issues of child marriages or Twala, especially in the rural areas, your men and boys topic, your illegal initiation, your gender-based violence topics, or issues in which the rural community can relate to. And then we just formulate our topics based on the audience and the relatability as well. So we cover a number of topics. For example, if we are then making presentation in your more urban areas, we will then cover issues of gender mainstreaming and sexual harassment. But generally in the rural parts, we mostly cover gender-based violence topics. We cover your ubutwala, your illegal initiation. We teach people about gender rights, and amongst others, those are what I can recall from the top of my head. And then in terms of media campaigns, what we've done as the CGE and our communications department is that over the 16 days of activism, we had a campaign called the Vela campaign, which was being broadcast, I think on Dumisa, or I'm not sure what other channel, where we had women who were victims and survivors of gender-based violence come with their testimonies and then indicate how we as the commission have assisted them and motivate others to come and report, how they can come forward, how they can file their complaints, and where they can reach us as a commission. We even have a WhatsApp channel to make sure that we're accessible to the public. In addition to that, we also had a show called Gender Space, which was also broadcast on Dumisa TV. And the thought behind releasing this show on Dumisa TV was also with regards to accessibility, noting that this package or that channel was available even to your packages where your more affordable packages, basically. So we did consider accessibility in terms of that. And also we are very visible on social media as well. We post educational videos. We also have an SMS chain campaign, amongst other things. And last year, we also called the BCCSA together with MultiChoice and ETV to appear before the commission just to discuss the role that the media has in addressing systemic gender issues. So those are some of the campaigns or things that we've done to make sure that we're visible. and to ensure that we are covered in terms of the media space. With regards to the justice cluster, I'm not sure why the Free State is not attending those meetings. However, I will look into it. But what we need to stress or need to take note of is the independence of the CGE. As mentioned, we are an oversight bodies and not implementers. We have called the Department of Justice together with the NPA and the SAPS to appear before the Commission, and we've made recommendations against them. Last year, we had a hearing on the implementation of Pillar 3, which is mostly departments within the justice sector, to account on addressing GBV cases, and we made a number of findings. One of the things that was mentioned is these justice cluster meetings. And what we found from the minutes of these meetings is that these meetings were basically ineffective, in that there was no centralized system of capturing data, and there were departments that were working in silos. So that could partly be the reason, but as an oversight body, we have made recommendations, and we've also had these departments appear before the Commission. Thank you. That's all from my side. Thank you. You are muted, Advocate Malunga.
Oh, sorry about that, yeah. Before I go back to the hands that are up, let's see some of the questions on the chat. So you've got a question from Fulufelo Adula, who says, what is the view of CGE on the feminine debate? I don't know, it seems to, on the feminine debate, I suspect she means the feminism debate. As, just keeps on, as some religious leaders believes that women will never be equal to men. I suppose that here we should also have had the CCRL commission to come and join you on this one.
Yes, because this is within their mandate. However, as the CGE, we've also engaged and have had collaborative engagements with the CRL to address such issues. So normally with such engagements and such topics, we address it from a constitutional perspective. As mentioned, as the CGE, we try to debunk whatever cultural practices which are against or in contravention of the Constitution. In most cases, I'll make an example with regards to the LGBTQIA community. Most of the matters we've referred to the Equality Court, the main argument there is with regards to religion. But however, we need to then work on the advocacy with regards to educating religious leaders and cultural leaders with regards to gender rights and how those cultural views, those patriarchal views should not be inconsistent with the Constitution and should not borderline be illegal or be against the law. So as the CGE, where it is a conduct or something against the law, that's where we intervene and refer matter to the Equality Court, or we report it to the SAPS. So we try and educate traditional leaders, we try and educate the religious sector as well in collaboration with the CRL.
Excellent. No, thanks a lot, Madam. Yeah. Yeah, no. I think your response is very polite, Madam. I would actually say, I would actually inform those religious leaders to go and read the Constitution. Read it thoroughly, especially Section 9. And I think they will get their answer. That is that outdated thinking no longer has a space. Yeah, so in response to Fulufel. And then the next one is, good evening, colleagues. This is Matali. I want to thank the last speaker who raised the issue of awareness and public communication to ensure that citizens are aware of the CGE and its work, especially in the rural areas where there's lack of formal or modern communication channels. That was only my question, I suppose my comment. I'm glad that it is being addressed. Thank you. So I guess it's a comment more than a question.
Yes, Advocate Malunga, we also acknowledge the importance of public education and information, which is why we have a whole department dedicated to that.
Yes, thanks very much. And then Lifas Hazing Nonyana says, hi, my name is Lefa. Lefa. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. Just joined. I see there's a recording available. Yes, it will be on YouTube and all the other platforms, Facebook and all these other platforms. And then Onke says, Advocate, I would appreciate it if the institution would invite the Human Rights Commission to give us a presentation similar to the CGE. It will be of importance for us to know how the commission progresses and challenges with respect to unfair discrimination against people with disabilities. That's very true. Unfortunately, we actually, fortunately or unfortunately, we actually have already had my friend, Professor Tsepo Madlingozi, last year around September, who gave, I think he gave the last, Ms. Sonjica, like, those are the shoes that you're stepping into. You are stepping into, before that it was Dr. Matthews Posa. After that it was, I'm sure you know him, Professor Tsepo Madlingozi, Human Rights Commissioner, and then it's you. So we had the Human Rights Commission addressing some of the issues, but of course there's no harm in a more focused one, because Onke seems to be talking more about disability rights, which is fine. But I don't know if let me just hand over to Edward Nkuna. Edward,
thank you, Advocate.
Ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, and thanks for the opportunity, Advocate. Ms. Sonjica, I'm welcoming you, and I want to say thank you for the presentation. I'm hearing, the history of this institution, and obviously the effort that you have put so that it can be recognized. But there's only one part that I'm not hearing you saying it. And allow me to put it the way I feel about it. How radical are you? How radical is this institution to make sure that the private sectors take you serious? What systems do you have in place to make sure that in the next few years, the issue of private sectors not taking this institution serious? In 5 years' time, where will we be? Understanding that you are telling us, you are saying to us, private sectors, they are pulling their legs. And then what? If they are pulling their legs, what powers do you have as the institution to make sure that they take you serious and they make sure that what you are presenting today, tomorrow it will be something that we don't even talk about? I'll give you an example. If you go to mining industry, safety is an overriding priority. It's something that we do not discuss. Hence, I'm putting this question to you to say, how radical are you? So that tomorrow we don't sit back and say, people with disability, companies don't want to employ them, or they're just pulling their legs and they're not even serious about it. How will you make them serious? So that the issue of the disability, particularly in South Africa, with all the legislations that we have that are addressing these issues, we've got all the legislation, we've got the constitution. But if we come to a point where you'll find certain sectors saying, we don't want to take people with disability, the infrastructure doesn't allow us to employ them, how radical are you to compel them to do exactly what you are telling us? Because I'm looking at it, it looks lucrative, it's good. I'm looking at the years that we've been operating, you're doing well. But I'm just worried that the manner in which it looks, will we be able to talk about the changes that we have made 5 years to come? If I were to anticipate, sitting where I'm sitting, will I be able to say, out of this institution that was led by people who realized the importance of people with disability, gender equality, in 5 years' time, do you think these companies that you are saying they're not taking you serious, do you think they will take you serious? And what is this that you are putting in place to make sure that they take you serious in 5 years' time? Thank you. That is my question.
Thank you, Mr. Sonjica. Thank you, Edward. Ms. Sonjica, I don't know what, that's a hot potato, but please proceed.
Yes, I think in my presentation, I did highlight that the main challenge is regarding the binding nature of our recommendations, of which we're currently litigating on that matter. But generally, over the years as the Commission, we have not received any resistance with regards to our recommendations, because what we normally do is when we investigate a certain sector, we will make recommendations. We will then follow up to check if the recommendations have been implemented. So in terms of our powers as the CGE, we are empowered to subpoena entities, whether private or public, to appear before the Commission. And we've used that in the past to make sure that they account on gender transformation issues. We've also reported or filed our reports or presented our reports before the Employment Equity Commission, also to address the issue of fines against these relevant entities and also affecting their ratings in terms of their BBE scores and in terms of how the employment equity plans and the non-compliance thereof. We've also presented our reports before the relevant portfolio committees, and we've also approached the President with some of our findings and recommendations, just to ensure that we have measures to ensure that public and private entities comply with our recommendations whilst we are still litigating on that aspects. With regards to the mining sector, as I mentioned, that we did subpoena them to appear before the Commission. Most recently, I can recall that we subpoenaed Samanco and Harmony, and we have identified the safety issues that were mentioned by the student. I'm not sure whether that was a student or a lecturer, but we have identified the certain safety issues, and mostly with regards to PPE and issues that women face in the mining industry and persons with disabilities. And one of our findings were the fact that if for safety reasons, mining companies cannot employ persons with disabilities, then there should be measures in place to employ them, for instance, on offices or administrative positions. And also, we have also assessed their employment equity plans, their recruitment strategy with regards to persons with disabilities. I think that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sonjica. Indeed, some more questions on online platform before we on the chat. Victoria says, would you like to, I'd like to know, do you run roadshows, especially in rural areas? Yes, she did say so. And actually not only in the rural areas, but everywhere. Yes, she did say so. So we'll move on to the next one, which is Franz Mofokeng. My question is how the CGE is going to intervene in the workplace where there's a policy to balance gender equality on job promotion, but that is still not happening. E.g., the principals of most of our schools are still males than more males than females. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Thank you, Advocate Malunga. Although this is generally the case with other schools, I think this particular case refers to the merits of that particular place. So I would encourage Ms. Mofokeng to consider contacting the CGE so that she can file, or he or she can file a complaint, and we will then investigate. But generally, with regards to recruitment strategies, those are some of the policies we assess as a commission. And we, in cases of an individual case, will then issue an investigative report with the relevant findings and recommendations. but I would encourage that she file a complaint with the CGE, where if he or she feels that they've been discriminated against, or they know someone who's been discriminated against. As the CGE, we do receive complaints. We also do our own accord investigations. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Let's ask Tikeledi Nkuna to talk.
Advocate?
Yes, we can hear you, madam.
Okay, so my question is based on the social workers. I saw a slide that she talked about disadvantaged people and also sexual workers. So my question here says that when sex workers are abused or affected by gender-based violence, how does the law protect them in terms of Section 10 and 11 of the Constitution, and how may they protect themselves?
Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah, that's a tricky one for you, Ms. Sonjica, because I know there's been a to and fro with the Department of Justice on this one. Sometimes I've missed the conversations, and of course, the issue of legality versus rights, and because it is still, to the best of my knowledge, still illegal, right? But please proceed, madam.
Thank you, Advocate Malunga. As mentioned in one of my slides, I did state that the Commission has made submissions with regards to the decriminalization of sex work. So the Department of Justice seems to be dragging their legs with regards to that, but we have made submissions. But our stance as the CGE is that there should be decriminalization together with the regulation. So the one must go with the other. There shouldn't just be decriminalization. So we do investigate or intervene in cases where a sex worker will say they went to the SAPS, they weren't assisted with opening a case. But generally, with regards to crimes committed against sex workers, we do intervene where the police are hesitant to intervene. But generally, if a sex worker is raped, is assaulted, that is a criminal offense, as with any other offense.
Okay, if I can just jump onto that one, because just 2 weeks ago, we were running another different course to some paralegals on domestic violence. So that you also intervene in those kind of cases as well, domestic violence cases.
Yes, we intervene in domestic violence and GBV cases in general. Like I mentioned, we are in oversight bodies, we're not the implementers. However, in cases where the complainant will report that the SAPS is refusing to investigate, they're not updating her, the matter has not been enrolled, or the NPA has declined to prosecute, we intervene as the CDE. We've had cases where matters have not been enrolled by the NPA, but upon our intervention, the matters have been enrolled. Also, we do communicate regularly with the SAPS provincial office. So we have good relations in cases where investigating officers do not do their job with regards to investigating.
No, excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. And then Matale says, Matale again, I want to check if the CGE has any partnership opportunities for community-based organizations who also seek to advocate for gender equality in their various spaces. And if so, how can those opportunities be pursued?
Thank you, Advocate. With regards to the partnership, we only collaborate with regards to the public education and information sessions, your outreach sessions. So we'll collaborate with the community-based organizations where we are requiring an audience with the community, or community policing forums where we need them to also assist us with presentations where we can get a crowd. That is as so far as the partnership goes. In terms of public education and information.
Excellent. Thank you very much, madam. Yeah. Not, to the best of my knowledge, what I had to remember when I was in the chapter 9s myself, that everyone is a stakeholder. Yeah. So, and I can assure you, I believe you will get that judgment, the same as the one we got with Nkandla when I was doing that other work. Because that was the one that says these are binding recommendations. I'm convinced it will go that way. I don't know if there are any other questions, and especially from, okay, Ngabayomzi, his hand is up again. Is that an old hand or a new one? It might have been an old hand. And Edward, I don't know if that's an old hand or a new one.
It's a new one, Advocate.
All right, please proceed.
If you allow me, I'll appreciate.
That's fine.
Allow me to breathe a bit. Ma'am, you know, I was quite excited with your presentation, and to be honest with you, deliberately, I did not want to ask about the part of the sex workers, understanding that this might be something that you would not have a control over. But my question and what brings confusion to me, your institution in terms of gender equality and the address of the people with disability and, equal pay for the females in the work industry. It's something that motivates me, but my confusion comes to the issue of the sex workers. And please allow me to look at it in this way. Looking at the society we are, the views of sex work, in terms of our culture and religious and personal values, we view it differently. And will I then be correct to say, if then your institution addresses the issue of them being legalized, the moral part of it, of sex workers, is there any way where your institution and the institution you find yourself with can discourage this? Understanding that we are in a country where the constitution allows people to make choices. But I don't know why we are so calm in the face of adversity as Africans, particularly when we have to address issues like the issue of the sex workers. My confusion started when death penalty was not allowed in South Africa, but abortion was allowed. What makes things worse now is the issue of sex workers that are going to be legalized. At the same time, we are the country that has cultures, different cultures, but no one is asking if it is correct. And we even go to an extent of having institutions that are saying legalize it. And obviously, I do understand that one would say legalize it, it's a choice of an individual. But what damage will this do to our children in the future? We might not be in the position to say, no, Edward, you are derailing, this is in the Constitution. But I'm putting a question to the institution that is addressing the issue of gender equality. The issue of sex workers being legalized, is there any other way for your institution to say, wait first, can we address this? Can we make sure that we have companies that are employing people and we do away with the issue of sex workers, irrespective of whether the Constitution allows it? And I don't know why the Constitution allows it, because my confusion with our Constitution is just one of those that leaves me thinking to say, am I really asking difficult questions, or am I asking questions that I'm not supposed to be asking? But I find myself not being able to keep quiet, but to ask the question of saying, I know there's a death penalty that we are still talking about, which I don't think it will ever happen in a country where the crime is so sky high. But the same country allows the abortion and does not allow the death penalty. And the same country talks about we need to have morals. We are in different religions, and we come with the legalization of sex workers. Now, in your department, have you ever thought of finding a way to say, let it not be a state where we are going to have sex workers. You know, I know it might be something that is bigger than you, but is there any other thing like this that we can discuss? Because I'm worried about, 5 years to come, anticipating what is going to happen in South Africa, and your institution is a very good institution that will have influence, that has an access to high offices. Do you really have powers to make sure that such things, you raise them and actually challenge them to say they should not be legalized? I know that there might have been people who, have signed. If it has been legalized, obviously it will be a public issue, and other people will say yes, others will say no. It will depend on numbers. But what powers does your department, this institution, has to discourage it? Thank you.
All right, Ms. Sonjica, I'm sure you are now in the town hall. I'm now imagining you in Bisho or in somewhere. I mean, I've done a lot of these community meetings somewhere in the Northwest. An old man, old lady somewhere standing and asking these questions. A member of the community. So I think this is a great trial run for you. But please proceed, ma'am.
Yes, thank you for the question. I think we all need to go back to the fact that generally sexual conduct is not presumed unlawful. It is only unlawful where there's no consent. So generally sexual conduct is considered to be lawful unless there is no consent, like I mentioned. And our institutional position is the Commission for Gender Equality with regards to the decriminalization of sex work is recognizing and giving power back to the women who are sex workers in terms of their bodily autonomy, their bodily integrity, and the right to human dignity, and giving them that power to make those decisions themselves. And also, in terms of our institutional positions, as I've mentioned, it is not just about decriminalization, but it's also about regulation. So our stance is if it helps empowers the women who are sex workers in terms of economical participation and just to avoid lack of victimization and abuse, then we as the Commission, we will support that. So in essence, as the Commission, we recognize the right to bodily integrity of these women. We recognize their bodily autonomy and also just giving them the power to participate in whatever way they can with regards to the economy. So I don't have more to say other than that, advocate. And I have noted that the arguments are coming from a moral standpoint and the patriarchal notions, we can argue that. However, as the CGE, our institutional position remains behind supporting the right to bodily integrity of sex workers, their bodily autonomy, and also the right to human dignity.
Thanks very much. And I think before I go on to the next questions, James John Ogbu actually mentions the same argument as Franz when he says, when you state that you have a proposal aimed at decriminalizing sex workers, do you not consider the possibility that such an initiative might inadvertently foster a sense of complacency among individuals of that gender, while also potentially contributing to a decline in moral standards within society as a whole? Yeah. And I think let me also just clarify, Ms. Sonjica, our students, especially our online students, are very diverse. We've got a lot of mature students who are, and I remember teaching one of the classes, and we had pastors, a reverend on the one side, and the other guy is, I think, an imam in Islam. So very competing interests on some of these issues. So obviously there will be other factors that come into the picture, such as religious values and belief systems and so forth.
Thank you, Advocate Manunga. No, I do understand that. Generally, with gender issues, it's always the case where there's cultural, religious arguments with regards to certain notions and certain practices. So our issue or our stance as the Commission is that we have to uphold the Constitution, as we are custodians of the Constitution and in an institution that supports democracy. So our arguments and our viewpoint will always come from a constitutional background.
Thanks a lot. And then the other one, Fulford, I think we'll quickly go through hers because they have contributed before. To avoid being taken out of context, if a large segment of society teaches women to be submissive to men, such women may fail to recognize injustices relating to gender equality. This is the basis of my question regarding the relationship between femininity and gender equality. I'm not sure if I get what the direction that she's going.
Yes, I forget. I'm also not getting the question or the submission, but I don't know. Maybe I could attempt to answer it. As the CGE, as I've mentioned, we've experienced various issues with regards to the argument or putting forward gender equality. One of the issues we've encountered is the systemic and the ingrained patriarchal views. As mentioned, I think in my presentation, I stated that initially when the commission was established, gender issues were not considered to be that important. As a result, our operations were delayed. So one of the issues or the systemic issues we've identified are issues such as patriarchy, for instance, which play a big role into how gender rights and gender equality is viewed. So I'm not sure whether I'm answering the question.
No, that's fine. I think you're spot on. My understanding is Fulufelo has a problem with patriarchy, and I suspect that you've indicated that your mandate is fully hitting this head on with the Constitution as a value system. So I think, and I am also a person who has worked quite extensively with the CGE in my other tenure when you remember you have the Forum for Institutions Supporting Democracy. So it was almost inevitable that I would work with the CGE directly, which is why I still have quite an interest in the work of these bodies. I'm trying to scroll down and see which one. We are almost out of time anyway. We have Onke says, my experience of our country is that it has beautiful laws that are poorly implemented or disregarded by those vested in power, or with vested powers to implement them. Having reports that are not balanced with the transformations on the ground is more of a frustration to the vulnerable group. I do appreciate the presentation of Ms. Sonjica. However, if these reports or presentations are not transferable to the realistic measures on the ground, they remain smoke on the screen or a smoke screen. Okay, I think you're shooting the messenger, but I'll let Ms. Sonjica respond herself. But I think they do a lot of hard work, and of course, not everyone in the state. Also, the other thing, not everyone in the state. People have a perception when they see sometimes the Madlanga commissions and all these other things that are going on, state capture that we worked on, and that everything is dysfunctional. I think there's a lot of hard work that goes on in there and a lot of results that are being achieved. But let me hand over to Ms. Sonjica. We are almost out of time.
All right. Thank you, Advocate Malunga. I think I did mention in my presentation that one of the challenges we've noticed through our hearings is the lack of implementation of policy and non-compliance with legislation. So to a certain degree, I do agree with the student who posed this question. However, as the Commission for Gender Equality, that is why we also investigate individual complaints. So we try to be on the ground or to do the groundwork. So if an individual has a particular complaint with regards to non-compliance with a policy or legislation, that is where we intervene. So our focus is not only on systemic issues, but our focus is also on individual complaints to make sure that we have an impact, not only across the country, but with regards to individual complaints as well. So we investigate your sexual harassment complaints, your gender discrimination complaints, your discrimination on the grounds of sexuality, gender. So in general, we do focus on individual complaints and we do the groundwork. So I guess that answers his question then.
Thank you very much. And then Sinazo says, has your research focused on Eastern Cape, Limpopo, and Northwest provinces because they are less fortunate or because there's high gender-based violence and gender inequality cases reported for these provinces?
Yes, we have had a number of investigative reports and research projects that cover the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, and Northwest. For instance, with regards to our research projects on barriers that prevent women to access communal land, we covered the Northwest, the Eastern Cape, and Limpopo. And in the Eastern Cape, we also had an investigative report with regards to Tutuzela care centers. And we also had a report with regards to the withdrawal of sexual offences cases in Mpumalanga. So we're able to identify various provincial dynamics and focus our research and our targets with regards to those systemic issues raised with regards to the provincial dynamic. So our research reports and our investigative reports are available on our website. When the students have time, they can just go through them.
No, excellent, excellent. And then, but can I just check, because they always get these kind of questions. Do you have internships for people who have recently completed their LLBs?
We do have internships, so we have intakes every year. Our interns are spread across our PEI department, our public education and information department, our research department, and our legal department. So annually we do advertise internships, so they must just be on the lookout on our social media and our website. Excellent. So thanks a lot. So those who are finishing their LLB this year, if job hunting next year, you've heard from Ms. Sonjica. There's competition. As well, I always say to people, we don't look for jobs for you. You find the jobs yourself, but we will show you where to look. Yeah. So thanks. And then, of course, Ngawe Oms is asking about the moot court. Of course, it's a bit of a digression. Ngawe Oms, the moot court is going to be running this year for final year students in particular. And of course, that's just in keeping with the standard in approach in other universities in this regard. I think we've come to the end of our questions. And I just want to thank Ms. Sonjica for such an entertaining and very elaborate, insightful presentation as Unati and Sinazo say. And then, of course, I also thank the participants who contributed to this debate. And Mr. Sonjica, I think view this as a trial run for the rest of the year, because I suspect during your 30th year, you will be answering a lot of these questions. This presentation that you used today, I suspect will have to be used again and again in one shape or the other. So we've done half of the work for you. But let me give you the last word. Indeed, Advocate, it will be used for the rest of the year. As mentioned, we are going to be celebrating 30 years. We're still conceptualizing on whether we should do a conference or just do road shows. So indeed, the presentation will be used again in the near future. Otherwise, I would like to thank you for the invitation. I'd like to thank the students for their questions. And yeah, thank you for your time. Much appreciated. It is available on YouTube, so that our team will have that available. I think even tonight it will be ready. In 10 minutes, I think it will be ready for dissemination on YouTube and other platforms. So thanks
thanks to you for your time, and of course, oh, there's one more. Onke, you shouldn't do that. She says, Africa, a few years ago in Makana or Grahamstown, there was an outcry of blind or partially blind females who were raped. When they reported these actions, they were told by government authorities to point out the perpetrators. And I found it strange how justice was handled. So, Madam, if you still have the facts, this kind of thing doesn't have a statute of limitation. If you can still find where this happened and how, I really believe that it can still be pursued. But maybe Ms. Sonjica, you may have a view on that.
Thank you, Advocate Malunga. I'm not aware of this matter or this case. However, I will try and ask our Eastern Cape office if they are aware. Alternatively, the student can also report through our social media or email. We have an email address, gender-inquiries@cge.org.za, and then we will investigate.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I'm
not aware of this particular case.
He says this was on national TV. Yeah,
I might have missed it.
No.
Yes.
But thanks to you, Madam, for such an illuminating presentation, and thank you to CGE for letting you work on Friday evening. We really appreciate your time and input. But as I said, this will also be you are more than welcome to use this as the video as a tool for. Because as I said, it's going to be on YouTube to eternity. So the views are going to be now, but also in future. So people are still going to get a chance to get some education out of it. Okay. Thank you very much. And thanks to everyone for attending. Thank you and have a very good night.
Thank you, Advocate. Thank you to your students as well. Bye.